Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. I do apologize. Excuse me. I do apologize. We started just a few minutes behind. I had to change our scene at the last moment. So it took me a second to adjust the light. So I'm like 5 minutes behind, but it's okay. So good morning. You guys go ahead and start jumping on. Now, as always, Instagram is always our first ones on. And it's kind of funny because I even went ahead and started Facebook and YouTube like just a few seconds before, and you guys still jump on first. I think their stuff sends out a lot faster. Good morning, Angela. Good morning. Hello, Miss Donna. Hi, Heather. And Miss Teresa, hope you guys are doing well this morning. If you will, please go ahead and start hitting your share button, okay? There's a lot of different ways you can share. I think it's a little limited on Instagram. You can share to friends. Some of you have figured out how to share to your stories. I have not. It seems like no matter what I do, it never gives me that option to share a live to my story. I can share afterwards, but it won't let me share during the live. So who knows with this kind of stuff. On Facebook, you can share to groups, just, avoid like buy, sell, trade groups and stuff like that. We don't want to put it where it's not welcome. So just kind of be mindful of your groups, but especially those of you who are over like women's groups, men's groups, prayer, leadership. Those are really great places to send this out, especially for them to come back later. I know we're in our Sunday morning routine, but for people to come back later, those are really great places. And a lot of times it is for confirmation to them later. So good morning, everybody. Glad you guys are hopping on. You guys are moving fast today. Awesome. Thank you, Miss Sharon. So welcome, everybody. So for our Facebook people, just a reminder, you can invite your friends to watch in the comments. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit the little @ sign just like you use in email. Start typing in their name, and you'll see a little box pop up as you start typing those letters. When you see their name, click on it. That will give them a tag. You can say good morning. You can say come join us. You can especially if it's something you guys have been talking about, you can say this is such confirmation, or remember how we were talking about this. So just make sure you tag one person at the time, because if you tag multiples, it's possible that Facebook will think that you are spam. So it's not going to affect us, but it could affect you. Keep that in mind. It's no different than, if you say like amen 5 times in a row and you'll say, oh, Facebook's hiding my comments. It's just because it automatically thinks that it's spam because it's repetitive. So just keep those things in mind. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for sharing. We're glad you're jumping on. I'm going to get started here in just a second. I try to give you guys a moment to, get it all rolling, get it out there. So just continue to share all throughout the broadcast. Continue to invite people in. It helps us a ton. And also don't forget, you still want to be hitting the hearts, the likes, the wow emojis. Sometimes we don't know what to say, but it just, quickens our spirit or really hits home. So that's a great time for you to just light it up with some hearts. All right. So I think we're all getting rolling. All right. Everything looks good. So I am going to continue on with some things that Mom had started yesterday. Dad came in there this morning and he was like, she needs you to do the live for her today. And I was like, I'm not ready. I don't have anything prepared. A lot of times on Sundays, like we're always, in preparation and study, but a lot of times on Sundays, her and I, we kind of bounce off of each other. It's usually either a continuation of the week before, or we're like really diving into something for the new week. And he came in there and was like, nothing, I'm not ready. But then it God actually kind of reminded me of some stuff from the other night. So a friend of ours did a live through her nonprofit, and just listening to the things that she was talking about, it kind of led to, in the back of my mind, I was considering that about where it talks about, is there not a cause? And then she got on there and said that yesterday. If you guys missed yesterday's live, you definitely want to go back and watch it. So when I got up this morning, I was like, God was like, you had it before. You had it before she even got on yesterday. So here we are. We're going to get rolling. But for those of you who missed it yesterday, first of all, she talked about a dream that she had. So I do think it would be great for you guys to go back and hear that, and just the interpretation of it, because I think it's going to help a lot of people in a lot of ways. But she was talking about over in 1 Samuel 17, where obviously most people know like the David and Goliath story, but this is just kind of like leading up to that, and where he comes to his brothers and they tell him, we know the naughtiness of your heart. Well, they didn't. They were looking at him as their little brother who shouldn't have been there, in their opinion. You don't belong here. But in fact, he did. He actually came to fulfill that they could not. So that's where it brings up the question of, is there not a cause? Okay. So if you saw the title, I titled it Fulfilling the Cause in Rest. Y'all know, as far as me, I'm big on the rest thing. I've been talking about it for a while, and even more now, because we are coming into the new year. Okay. When we talk about like the Jewish and the Hebraic New Year in September, and there's a lot about Shabbat, and there's a lot about Shalom and rest. And we kind of discussed this with a group recently about how we're in the decade of the mouth. And this last Hebraic year was, it was about the open mouth, but it was basically about having the mouth wide open in silence. Okay. So, and it's not, and I told them the same thing the other night. It's not talking, because we're still decreeing, we're still declaring, we are still active in the word, and we're still active in what we're pushing out. But it's actually a position of, you're waiting to speak because you're listening. So when we broke that down about it being the mouth wide open in silence, okay, it's like you're waiting to convey a message. So that's something that you will see us start talking about in this next year. Probably over the next month, we will really kind of dive into some of this. But when you're waiting to speak and you're just listening and hearing from God, the next year is when you open up your mouth and say, okay, this is what we're going to go forth into. And you have to be in a state of rest for that. And rest is not, we're going to talk about what it is and what it's not, but rest is not just like, I think some people feel like they can't rest because to them it feels lazy. To them it feels unfulfilling, or they think rest and they think that it's just sleep. Like that's it's just a piece of it. Or they think rest and they think, oh, like binge watching Netflix and having your favorite snack, right? And those are things that God uses to rest. That is things that God uses to restore us, because God knows us. He knows, He knows our desires. He knows what replenishes us. So we can't cancel those things out, but we also can't think that that's like the end all be all. Right now, it's really trending for self-care. It's really trending for I'm having a me day, self-care day. And those things are awesome, but we also have to realize, because like especially in the younger generation, okay, we see like the TikTok videos and the YouTube, and it's, my self-care day, my self-care routine, and it's like lighting candles and a bubble bath, or treat yourself with things financially, whatever, like a materialistic, whether it's your favorite food or favorite like your favorite restaurant, or go see a movie and stuff like that. And I'm telling you, that is so a part of it. So please don't get me wrong, but we can't get so wrapped up in rest as just switching from doing the work to switching into still doing stuff to occupy our flesh. Because at the end of the day, true, genuine rest, it's about refreshing and a renewal and a replenishing. So if we switch from grinding it out in the work, grinding it out in the ministry, and y'all know we don't believe in grind over here, okay? We do not believe in grind. We do not believe in toil. We believe in working hard in the sense of you have good ethics. You are following the leading and the leanings of Christ in the direction that he has called you to go. But rest and replenishing, usually it's more about restoring the soul, the mind, will, and the emotions after, that comes from the replenishing of your spirit. So to replenish your spirit, you have to be able to come into that place with God. Okay. So you come into like this stillness with God, and that is where your cause is revealed. Okay. Because when we're grinding and we are toiling, your cause is not at the forefront. And it's not even about you, but just because there's so many of you and us who don't understand what our cause is. David didn't know that his cause was to take out the biggest giant in the land. That was not only hindering his local government, it was hindering his friends and family. It was hindering that what would have been considered their military at the time, like their army. It was causing an unsettledness throughout the entire land in the surrounding area. Okay. It was so much more than just, this is affecting my whatever that I like to do every day. Like this was, and we're kind of in a place of having our own Philistine in the land that is bringing an entire upheaval to everything we know, everything we love, and everyone around us that we know and love. So we're in this space of unsettledness all the way around. Okay. Because it's not just ourselves, but the selflessness of seeing the people that we love in a state of unsettledness. It's like it makes us even more unsettled. So we're seeing this heightenedness of awareness, this heightenedness of defense, this heightenedness of anxiety. And then people start falling into depression because they're not, I'm anxious about this and I can't do anything about it. So then you're depressed because you can't do it by the might of your own hand. Okay, so that's where we turn around and say, you don't have to. You don't have to. You're not expected to. God is not waiting in anticipation for you to go forward and take over this, right? No, we come into this place, and again, you'll hear more of this over the next month or two coming out of us. But you hear a lot of people talk about Shabbat. And there is a term called Shabbat Shalom that is used in pairing together. Shabbat is so much more than just a Sabbath, right? It is a literal stop. It's not pause. It's not pause and think about it. It's not even Selah. It is stop. At that moment, you stop and you come to a realization of where you are. But we follow it with shalom because you stop and there's peace. Shalom is a very common term, and we even kind of take it for granted because, peace be with you. Go with the peace of God. Enter with the peace. No. Shalom is literally a surrounding of the peace from all areas to the point that it comes within you and you begin to operate through it. It's literally you're operating in the rest of God. There's a peace in it. There is a stillness in it. So when we say Shabbat Shalom, it's so much more than, oh, that's a cute little Jewish phrase. No, it is stop, get into your peace, and then you move forward. So here we are. David, as much as he was still fulfilling his purpose, he was still the shepherd boy. As Mom mentioned yesterday, he did not leave his post unmanned. Even his brothers was like, who did you leave the sheep with? You just came over here. And see, that's where we get, that prevents our rest, because in our minds, we have those same voices, just like his brothers of, well, you left your post unmanned just so you could go rest. No, it's not so you could go rest. It's you have to rest. And see, even though he was working because he found his cause, it was a sense of peace for him, because to him, it was just another lion. It was just another bear. It was just another stone. It was not, I have to go gather this and I got to do this. No, he took lunch to his brothers, and he realized through leadings and leanings of God, there was more for him to do there. And then we see further down where Saul, and I'm paraphrasing because we could take a long time reading all of this, and most of you know the outline of the story. So we see where even Saul offers unto him his armor, and he's like, no, because that's not the peace that I operate in. It doesn't fit me, and it's actually going to cause me more turmoil to take on what you're offering me than for me to go forth in my rest of what God has ordained me. It's going to cause me more hardship, okay, to take on something that doesn't fit me than to take on the cause that God has ordained for me and just go pick up a few stones and we'll have this done here in a minute, okay? So I don't know. I just think this is so awesome. How we're able to merge the rest that God is giving us, but we're also able to still find fulfillment. There's no other word to call it, because God created us to have this desire to fulfill. He created us to enjoy when things are accomplished. So when you are like a driven person, it's hard to step back and go, "Ooh, can't do that," because that's how God created us. He created us to enjoy progress. He created us to enjoy seeing things happen. So when you're in a state of rest, He's still going to provide that for you. That's why our rest has to be not even just about us like relaxing and relaxing our minds and relaxing our bodies, because that comes with His rest. Our rest is about getting into that place with Him where He offers the next steps. He offers, our fulfillment comes from His fulfillment. And I just want you guys to understand, everything around you doesn't shut down. It doesn't. And that is such a Selah moment in that. Because David stepped away from what was considered his position, but he didn't shut down. His cause still went on. His cause still came to pass. It just didn't look like what everybody thought it was supposed to. So in that same way, we have to shut down in the natural and say, okay, God, what is our cause? Our, meaning you and Him, flowing as one together. And all of this came about because we have a friend that has a nonprofit, and she has recently expanded some things in her nonprofit. Well, this expansion came out of a time of her rest. Now, it wasn't rest by choice. It was actually a sickness that she experienced where she was hospitalized, And I think that's awesome because it just goes to show you whether you rest by choice or you rest by circumstance, God can still use it. God can still draw things out of it. And during this time of basically forced rest, she took on, they do these, it's called hope boxes, right? Because she saw a need. Okay, this is her cause. She saw a need and a lack in children's hospitals where they're in this, what seems to be in the natural, a hopeless situation. So she created this thing called hope boxes, where they bring in a box. It is the cutest thing. You know, it's colorful and it's fun and it's interactive, and it has like art supplies and things such as that to occupy them during this time and to take their mind off their situation. She brings them in a time of rest when they're surrounded by turmoil. So when she was put into this forced rest herself, she, got one of the boxes and she's like, okay, I'm just going to do this. And at the time, they provided blank journals for these children where they could just doodle or write or whatever they want to do, because it reaches a wide variety of age ranges. And she found a place of frustration with it, because she'll tell you, I'm not an artist. That's not my thing. But it was just what we kind of consider a mindless act. Y'all, it's so funny because this whole situation contradicts itself. She's taken this time to rest. She's taken this time to do something that she thinks is just mindless to pass the time and to get her through this. And it actually ends up being not so mindless and pushes her into the next step of this cause that she has been called to in her life, because she's like, I felt more frustration than I did at ease, because it did come naturally to her. And she started wondering, I wonder if these kids are experiencing this same frustration. And it brought them to the next level of creating new things to go into the box. She's working on a journal, which I think is amazing, that they're releasing really even now. And they started kind of brainstorming and realizing, because these are children with typically terminal illnesses, she started realizing some of them don't have the memories that they need or that they desire, depending on what their outcome is. And in this case, they started creating this journal that's really just kind of like all about them. And it's asking, like, if you were a superhero, like, what would your name be and what would your superpower be? So this is just kind of giving you some background of where this is going. Okay. So she creates this and puts it out. And while I'm listening to them share about this, because they're in their launching period of it, I'm just in the back of my mind, because the lady that she partnered with is a mother. So they're piecing together all these things. In the back of my mind, I'm realizing that this is presenting, it's presenting a space for these families where they don't have to look at either the situation, whether the outcome be good or the outcome be not what they expected. They don't have to look at this and say, is there not a cause? And it is so necessary for us to be in a place of rest so that we can hear and so that we can fulfill our cause. So those that our cause impacts don't feel like they went causeless, that they're, whether it's their suffering temporarily or the things that came about their situations, it did not come causeless. Nothing that God orchestrates comes without an end result. And even if it was not God ordained, we all know, we hear the cliche that we hear the cliche about, God works all things for our good. But the thing about cliches is, and I've kind of said this a few times recently, just kind of through realization of my own things in my own life. The thing about cliches is it shows God's faithfulness. It shows God's consistency. It shows the truth in him and of him. Because we talk about how God is not a man that he should lie, but it's the evidence around us, seen and unseen, that confirms that solidifies that gives us the foundation of this. And when we talk about rest can be such a hard concept for people, because we enter this world in this place of push and grind, and you reach this stage and it's time to jump at another stage, and then you reach this goal and it's time to strain at another goal. And with God, it's a flow. Instead of jumping from stage to stage, instead of reaching for goal after goal after goal, with God, it is a flow from dimensions where you literally just continue to go higher and higher, because you are peacefully learning of him. You're peacefully learning in him. So I almost, yesterday when she started her live and she breaks it out with, I can't remember what it was she had us type in at the beginning, but basically about there being a cause, or I will not go without a cause, or something to that effect. And I'm just like, I was this close to just coming over there and sitting down by her and just kind of seeing how it would flow for us to bounce back and forth. And I just never did. But looking back on it now, I can say, well, that wasn't the time and that wasn't the opportunity, because it was for now. Because again, God works all things for his good and for your good. Because rest requires faith. It requires you being solid in what you believe, what you know. Let's see. So I wanted to pull this up. So give me just a second. Clicking away here. This right here. It says, we are assured and know that God, being a partner in their labor. So right here is God partnering with us partnering with God. All things work together and are fitting into a plan for good to and for. It's not just to you, it's for you. Those who love God and are called according to his design and purpose. And for those of you who I know will ask, is Romans 8:28, and I read from the Amplified Classic. I really like the Amplified Classic just because it kind of expands what's already there, right? It gives you a greater definition and a greater understanding of the word that is already laid before you. But this right here, it's an assurance and a knowing within you of what was already set before you. That's literally what it means to see the good, God's good, weaved in every aspect of our lives. So, and I probably won't go super, super long today, but just to tie this together, when we come into our rest, that is when our cause can be fulfilled. It's not about us, but it's that partnership of, okay, God, I'm laying everything aside. I'm going to stop what I'm doing in this moment, lay everything aside, and come into a place where I can hear clearly, I can see clearly. See, that was the thing with her in this situation that I mentioned earlier. She's been working at this, she's been doing this, she's been flowing with this. Had she not come into this place of stop, literally a forceful stop, this was a unintentional Shabbat. She didn't just pause, she had to stop in that moment. But God used that and unveiled something that was a need right in front of her face. So his cause given to her, ordained to her, to the next level. That's right. Tracy, she said, when I rest, that's where my cause will be fulfilled. And I think that would be awesome for you guys to type in, is when I come into my rest, that's where my cause will be fulfilled. You do. You need that rest. And it's so funny because, you know, we know that Sabbath is something that God ordained for us. It was actually in his original law. And the thing is we didn't eradicate him to fulfill the law. He brought ease where it wasn't just a law and a regulation and a legislation. It was something that we could just step into. That was kind of the whole point of it. So it did not go away. And it actually, being in a state of rest, oh my goodness, it brings so much. And there's so much evidence and things all around us. For instance, and I told y'all I've been listening and just watching and studying this because I think we're really in a place where we have to rest and we have to hear the voice of God, because we are in our Philistine moment. We are in, for a lot of people, there's so much going on in the natural that we needed to reassess and say, okay, God, where are you taking us next? What do we need to do to realign with you, to move this thing forward? And someone I was listening to recently, he was talking about the rest of God. And let's see. Okay. I wrote this down, kind of took some notes on it because I'm not overly analytical, but I do statistics that kind of just prove God. And it's funny because, you know, the world system, they'll tell you like, trust this and trust that. But it's so funny to me when it's like, yeah, we do, because those statistics literally prove God. It's one thing to have a fact. It's another thing when fact proves truths. Really, it's almost comical to me. I guess just because of the, but he was talking about how he's checked into some of these. And I know a lot of you are familiar with what would be referred to as Seventh-day Adventists. And, he was just kind of like studying some things and doing some comparisons and stuff. And part of a Seventh-day Adventist belief is they hold true to the Sabbath. And it's one thing I feel like a variety of denominations or non-denominational, whatever you proclaim yourself to be in your own right with Christ, that more of us can really pull from and glean from is taking that rest so seriously and devoting it. And I know, we live in a day and an age where it's not always of every Saturday I'm going to sit down or shut down, or every Sunday I'm going to shut down, but just keeping that consistency of your Sabbath with God. And in his understanding, he knows how our lives work. He already knows the inner workings of that. So there's ways that we can kind of back off and say, okay, God, what does this look like for us? What does this look like in our relationship that I can be consistent in it? And with the Seventh-day Adventists, when their lives were compared to the lives of other believers, I believe it was a 7 or 8 year difference of how much longer they live, because they're so intentional about their rest. Literally taking no other factors into play, no other health factors, no other practices, literally taking that as being the only thing that they were testing and comparing on was this. We're talking like 7, 8 year difference consistently added to their lives, because they say, no, if we don't do anything else, we're going to take our time to rest. We're going to take our time to reset and reevaluate our place and our position with God so that we can continue on with our lives outside of that. We've seen biblically, paraphrasing it, when you talk about where the Babylonians took over, the prophet came in and told them their forefathers had been mandated, this is me paraphrasing, obviously, but their forefathers had been mandated to rest and they didn't follow it. So God brought in a new prophet with a new decree to reestablish the fact that on this day you will rest. God is asking you to rest. He is asking you, and he went to, and you'll see this, I would have to go back and find the exact chapter to give that to y'all, but he goes to every gate of the city, which means he established it on all sides. He established every coming in and every going out. So there was no place that it could slip out. There was no place of, oops, sorry, I missed the announcement. No, he went to every gate and he announced that in your comings and your goings, you will leave your burdens at the gate. So he didn't say you can't come and go. He didn't say that you can't still go about your life. He just said, take this time to lay down your work. Don't put your animals to work. Don't put your children to work. You take this time to just stop and rest. And because they didn't, they continued on for well over 200 years. Then a forced rest came about from their disobedient years, which when you divided the years that they ignored after the prophecy came, okay, because just like your body, you at that time you were called to rest the land. So God gave not only the people a time of forced rest, but he gave the land a time of rest so that it could reset and recuperate. And even now we see that with farmers that after so many times of crops, they will burn off the land. Why? They're resetting the soil. They're letting it replenish and renew itself. As we know, it's a parallel worldly term would be like a parallel universe. These things, they coincide together and they work together because they flow off of each other. Now, on the positive side, okay, they did a study with fast food restaurants. And the average fast food restaurant, as many of us will know, many of them are like 24/7. Some of them have extended hours from early in the morning. Their average gross a year, 1.5 million. Then when they stopped and looked at Chick-fil-A, which many people know to be a Christian owned, based, operated, not just in the title, but in the principles, in the way that they regulate things. When they looked at them, who actually offer less, when you look at it, they offer less diversity. They prepare chicken like 5 ways. So they offer less. They're open less, not just their hours, but their days. They provide more for those that work for them. The difference, they gross on average 5.2 million a year. So not only do we see biblically the negative aspect into this time of rest, I mean, gosh, you're talking about hundreds of years that God's plan and God's purpose was pushed back for disobeying one decree, versus look at present day, one man, one leader deciding we're going to honor this no matter what, because it's what God has asked of us. It's what he has requested of us. And the result is in the numbers. That it's your proof, it's your evidence. And it doesn't even directly affect you, but you can look at that and you can allow it to build your faith to say, okay, God, this is speaking volumes to me. This is literally the facts and the truths are aligning together to give you the proof and the evidence of it, and how it can be done, and how it can prosper you in your everyday lives. So I just want to encourage you guys to kind of hold true to this, hold fast to this. Let this be something that becomes a practice in your life, not out of tradition, not out of law. Because again, like I mentioned earlier, to eradicate the law, he came to fulfill it so that you could just step into it. So, awesome. If you guys have any questions or comments, please go ahead and drop them. I do want to mention, I was kind of surprised. I kind of figured everyone would bombard with questions as soon as I got on. But I do want to mention to you guys, just because we know you guys love us, you care for us, and you there's many of you on here who pray and intercede for us. This morning, Mom could not come on with me because her alarm went off, and when she got up, she was immediately attacked with vertigo, to the point that the entire room was spinning, and she needed to get my dad to help her to kind of lay back down and she can't even so much as sit, like hold her head up while laying flat. So just so you guys know what's going on with that, we do ask that you be in prayer for complete healing and restoration for that. I do have one announcement too that I will put up in a second. So she doesn't experience it often. Every once in a while she'll get hit. This is just, I guess you could say my personal opinion, but I do feel like it is definitely an attack of the enemy because of the direction that we are going with this. We have been behind the scenes, and she's mentioned to you guys a couple times how we're really trying to update and upgrade and progress forward. And as we all know, when we move closer towards our cause, that is when the enemy, just as Goliath, the Philistines, they taunted David, they will try to taunt us in the present day. The spirit that is behind it, obviously not the same person, but the spirit that is behind it. So I do feel like this is more so a spiritual attack than a natural thing. So just be in prayer for that. We will keep you updated. We're just believing for this thing to be eradicated today. But I do have one announcement for you guys, and then I will give you an opportunity to sow. But I do have one announcement. You guys may have been seeing it here recently, but tomorrow night, and I know I can't put it on the Instagram, but I have the flyer here on Facebook and YouTube through our multi-stream. But tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Jeff will be joining us for a live worship night. Okay, we will stream it through all platforms, just as we normally do. But Mom and myself and Jeff, we're going to get on here and just flow prophetically, whatever it is that God leads us into. I figure some of this will probably be weaved into it because we know how God just continues to reestablish the things that he gives us. So it's not just a passing thought, but it actually becomes a part of us. So just be sure. I do believe I have the flyers up on that. If you're on Instagram, if you go to our Janet German Ministries page and you see the flyer, there is a little thing. It's an arrow. It almost looks like a little paper airplane. But when you click on that, you can send it to a friend. It should give you an option to add it to your story. That would be awesome as well. Not only does it help us with Instagram because it shows shareable content and shareable, like engaging in sharing, but also it, it just lets other people know beyond our reach what is going on. And then on Facebook, you guys can, obviously you can share it to your group, you can share it to your page. Some people may even have the option to share it to your stories. And you can message it to your friends. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. If you guys have business pages that this would coincide with, you can post it there. So just keep that in mind. So I am going to give you guys the links to give. Those are the flyer is everywhere. We will be sharing it. Here we go. We will be sharing it more later this afternoon, and we will be sharing it tomorrow. As you can see, Jeff is on here. He's excited. He's ready. So you guys are welcome. And again, thank you guys for tuning in. So if you need the links, this is another thing that will be changing soon. So it's bigger and more legible for you guys to see. So you can head over to janetgermanministries.com. We have a sow a seed page there. And if you haven't gone over there recently, you should. We have updated our logo thanks to one of our really sweet supporters and followers and friends that is on here. She did an amazing job. And she was so awesome to just kind of like sit down and talk through it with us. So we have a new logo that is on our Facebook cover page. And we also kind of revamped the entire website based on the colorway with that logo. And I'm going to drop a little hint that Mom hasn't told y'all yet, but we will be offering some shirts soon featuring that logo. So I'm really excited about that. So you can go to janetgermanministries.com, check out all the things we have set up for you there. You can sow there as well, especially to those of you who like to set up like a monthly recurring seed. That's the perfect place to do it. Our direct PayPal link is paypal.me/JGMIN. And on either the website or the direct PayPal link, you can leave us a note, whether you just want to leave a place of encouragement, a prayer request, if you want to even designate your seed. We highly encourage you to do that. You know, we're entering into this place of rest, and you can sow a seed on that and say, God, this is me saying I'm coming into covenant with you, and this is something that we're gonna move forward in together. Also, if you want to designate it personally to either of us, you can do that there. For those of you who prefer to use Cash App, we have $ Janet German MIN that goes into the general caretaking of the ministry. You can send personal seeds to $ German, which is obviously mom's. And if you would like to sow for myself, which I don't normally do, but $ Katie German, and my name is spelled Catie. And for those that need to mail in your seed, it is P.O. Box 1011, Bartow, Florida 33831. So you guys have an amazing Sunday. I'm going to go in there and check on her, see if there's anything we need to do. I think Dad had ran to get some crackers and drinks. So thank you guys so much for joining and staying on with us. And we look forward tomorrow. Be sure to share those flyers. Love you guys.